If you are finding that sometimes you are feeling up, you're connected with everything, you're feeling amazing, and other times you are feeling down and you are crabby, don't worry. Mother Creation says that is part of what we are, that is actually one of the signs that we are going through this shift of consciousness right now, that we are in this unique portal, that the door is opening, and we are the bridge. So welcome back, you guys. I'm super excited to be sharing our channel message this week from the Mother of Creation. So those of you that are new, my name is Ann Tucker. I'm a trance channel. I channel both from the angelic realm, and I also channel the Mother of Creation, who's the mother of all souls. And this message this week is from her. And it's a really cool message. She's sharing, actually, not only talking about the highs and the lows, but she's also sharing some super cool details about the actual process of how we are creating the new reality, how it is formed. So what is it that is happening energetically, and how is it moving through us? So I love that she's able to describe these relatively complex ideas that are hard to conceive of. She's able to somehow break it down into really simple explanations, which to me I find to be super, super helpful. So I wanted to make sure you guys know, if you are loving our 40-day glow up with Mother of Creation, or if you haven't caught it yet, definitely check it out. You can pick any of the meditations that you like, or you can start at the beginning. It works either way. But if you're enjoying that and you'd like to go deeper this weekend is December 6th and 7th. We're doing a full experience with the Mother of Creation. It is an intensive. So we're doing Saturday and Sunday. We meet, and then we're going to have I'll be channeling, we'll also be answering questions, going through healing. Then also, we take that information, we're going to take the week to integrate, take all of that information and put it into a workbook and get the transcripts. And then the following Sunday, we will meet again, and we will go through all of that together to help us to deepen our understanding of everything that we've learned and been given. So anyways, I hope you'll join us. It is on my website, anntucker.com. You'll see it right there at the top, MOC Weekend, which stands for Mother of Creation. So, all right, so let's go ahead and dig into this week's message. Take a breath, and I will go ahead and play for you the original channeling, and then afterwards we will break it down and talk about it in more depth. Blessed beings, we are together once again. I wish to bring to you an understanding of the greater tides that are coming, to bring to you the greater breadth and depth that you are a part of. This installment that you are embarking upon, this period of time that is immediately before you, is pivotal to the entry that humanity has made into the new state of consciousness. It is a pivot point. It is an installment, yes, one built upon the next, that is built upon your predecessors, all that you have accomplished, all that you have embraced. But as you are in this current moment, upon your shoulders, you wear the weight of what is the current experience of the shift. It is the moment between what was and what is. There is a point at which new things are begun. They can no longer be denied. They are in and upon yourselves in a way that is co-creative, and that you are a part of. That which was will endure. It will continue on for some time until all that are a part of it have left this earth. It will endure as it was to some degree, not entirely. It will gradually degrade, becoming less and less like the totality it once assumed. The old reality sticks to itself like glue. It gathers itself to itself, creating densities where there are fewer and fewer densities to be found. It creates like that attracts like. And as the partition between what was and what is becomes more palpable, becomes more observable, and you are moving between these two states of consciousness, you will eventually find you've chosen. either one. You will find you have chosen a way of performing a life, a way of living, a new way of instigating your light onto this plane of experiencing. In the same way that the old way sticks to itself, the new way attracts like as well. It shall find the shelters that new beginnings are in want of. It shall find new ways of gathering itself to itself, new ways of finding where you might align, not in a hierarchical sense, but in a state of equality with all else that exists on the same plane of experiencing. It shall be as if you are finding an opportunity to gather yourself together in larger and larger densities, as if you might begin to feel yourselves more alive in a new state of consciousness. It will not happen immediately or all at once. It must be gathered. It must be taken together piece by piece, part by part, as each new one upon the horizon, each new form of belonging has been instigated. What are you gathering? You wonder, what is it that comes alive between you? It is the resignation of two things that resonate together. It is the alignment of two thought forms that find in each other something familiar. However, these thought forms come from within a new patterning, as if you are cooking in a new way and must find the correct pots and pans, must find the correct recipes that will fit in alignment with this new form of creating. Once two thought forms from two sources find each other, they become glue, attaching to one another, and begin to instigate a circuitous round of perception where one perceives the next. And this forms a well like gravity into which others can align themselves. And in this way, the new beginnings begin to take shape and take form. It is arriving from and through you, through what you create together, through what your aspirations will become. Not all thought form can come alive within the new reality. Not all ways of beingness will be in alignment with this higher state of consciousness. But those that are will quickly find themselves illuminated. Thus, you, as a participant in this great shift, in this stirring of what is becoming, may participate in some ways and participate not in others for a time period as you bridge across the two states of being. You may find that in some ways you are participating in grand states of awareness of one another and of things, of states of awareness. You may become conscious of the new reality in methods of perception. At the same time, you may find yourself walking through the dredges of things you do not like or do not care for, that do not belong in the higher state or frequency. You may find you are trapped in the density of difficult friendships or relationships, or walking through parts of the country that do not feel in alignment with how you feel internally. These experiences are part of becoming in two places at once, part of leaving and part of arriving. You are the bridge, and in the process, as you are parsing out these interior dimensions of yourself, you will leave behind, slowly but surely, those parts that feel no longer in alignment with your chosen truth. Bit by bit, piece by piece, you will find yourself letting loose and letting go of that which does not belong in the higher state or higher frequency. But in these beginning times, there is enough between you all to begin creating, to begin to cook. There is enough of stability and friendship, loving exchange, these palpably felt intermixings shall grow between you. It shall extend and expand the more of you that participate. It is as if you are finding points of alignment through which you may begin to weave a new pattern in a quilt. You may find that there are threads that belong here, that some may share and others do not, and that is all right. There may be parts of your own consciousness that find alignment and parts that do not. This does not necessarily mean that they will not belong in the new reality. It merely means that you might be first. Therefore, as you are guided and guarded in your passageway through this time period of fluctuating between what is new and what is old, take heart. Do not fear as you are moving between things, as you are feeling high one moment and low the next. Know this is part of the process of your own processing of what is the transfiguration of your own way of being. Allow yourselves to enjoy most those moments, consequential, where you suddenly become aware of your own potential for giving, where you suddenly become aware of your own potency of expression, where your alignment or attunement to others suddenly becomes enriched with a greater variety or depth of information. Take a moment and celebrate yourself when this occurs. Know that you are bridging in that moment the higher dimension and bringing in parts of yourself, anchoring in those elements into the dialogue which are your very own, and being allowed to participate in this way, piece by piece, moment by moment. You are stitching together the beginnings of a new state of consciousness for humanity. In what you are leaving, do not fear it. Know that this is a natural processing of moving between one thing and the next. That in the context of a reality where you find yourself increasingly in juxtaposition against what is, where you find yourself increasingly at odds with what you are perceiving, you will slowly come to an awareness of which parts of you are in need of healing. And you may draw those into your perception for acknowledgement and reception. I would advise you in these moments that are coming to find your grounding more readily, to be attuned to the earth and all that she offers, for she is bountiful and she is ready, and she will offer you a safe refuge through this processing that is occurring. Those that are willing, such as yourselves, to be the bridge, to be the beacon, to begin something, to be at the start. She offers you her heat of transmutation. She offers you the readiness of her soul as witness. She may take on what you wish to release and heal you of your burdens. Thus, open yourselves to her and let her participate in that which you are moving through, and find in your dialogue between yourselves the increasing enrichment of your relationship to earth, and see her as she will become, as a place more bountiful, more at ease with herself, more joyful, and more open to the blessings of this great opportunity before you. I say thank you, blessings, and goodbye. So it was super interesting how this week's message is I think in alignment with the message, the today's blessing from our 40-day of live blessing series on YouTube. And it's a free series that I mentioned before that is available for anyone. And today's I literally just came from there before coming here, and today's blessing was about the opening up our ability to receive love. Right? It was open. It was this incredible opening of our heart, where where we went through the giving and receiving of love and expanded our hearts. So it was an amazing it was an experience, for me, a very physical experience. I know for many of you that were there, you felt the same. It was a physical, very physical, and yeah, coming out real foggy and yeah. Anyways, so coming into this and talking about, as she's explaining this as this sort of gradual opening, it feels like these two messages. There was a paragraph as we were going through it that I thought was very, very specific and related to that healing. Yeah, really, really cool. So, all right. So if you guys are game, let's go ahead and dive in and start to talk through the message and see where there's some areas in here I think that we can take it in a little deeper and go through. I mean, I feel like it's a very clear message, which I'm loving. But there's places I think if we just take a moment and spend time with it, we get more meaning and more depth out of it. So here's what first paragraph says. It says, blessed beings, we are together once again. I wish to bring to you an understanding of the greater tides that are coming, to bring to you the greater breadth and depth that you are a part of. So here she's telling us up front, this is going to be talking about this experience that we're having right now of this shift of consciousness, that we are right in the middle of some really important portals that are coming up, that I think that we're already in it, but I think it gets stronger as we're heading towards the end of the month. So yeah, very exciting. Next paragraph, this installment that you are embarking upon, this period of time that is immediately before you, is pivotal to the entry that humanity has made into the new state of consciousness. It is a pivot point. It is an installment, yes, one built upon the next, that is built upon your predecessors, all that you have accomplished, all that you've embraced. So in this paragraph, the pivot point piece of it is, I think, really important because, like, yes, we've all been working on this for a really long time. Like, we can look and see, I can look out into the world and say the vibe has been increasingly getting higher. Like, I think about the world when I was a kid, and I think about how rough it was. It was definitely much less sensitive, much more aggressive. And I think about now some of the issues that were buried and just accepted, and the treatment of people that was just glossed over, now coming to the surface, and we're having to face it and to see it, and it's coming into our awareness. And that's how we heal, right? We bring things up into our awareness. So the Me Too movement, the Black Lives Matter movement, the Epstein files, like all this stuff coming up to the surface to be seen. And that's how we heal humanity. So I see that we are in it, but there is a moment, right, where it's like where the big like a big cruise ship is turning, and there's a moment, the pivot point, where it is more in the new and less in the old, and we are at that pivot point. I feel like we are there, right? And I know that there's still going to be the flash of light, which the angels talked about and had given us a lot of information about. If you're not familiar with that, it's on my YouTube channel. Lots of videos about the flash of light, or in my book, this one right here. What's coming next is like all the messages that I channeled starting in 2020. I'll hold it still, sorry. All the messages that I channeled from 2020, and there's a whole chapter in here that's very detailed about the flash of light, and it's an energy that's coming to the planet that will it's a solar energy. It is going to be the moment that we look back on and say that everything changed. This is the moment that's going to affect everybody. So it's a big one. And we don't know when it's coming, but it's after some of the other events that are occurring. So after the Earth rift, which I believe came through in a recent message, that what may be occurring within the next 12-month period, the Earth rift. So sometime after that, it may be second half of 2026. Wouldn't that be amazing for the flash of light? So we will see. We'll see when it happens. But it's the point is it'll be in our lifetime. We'll be here for it. So that's the cool thing. But in the messages, there's very specific information about what it's going to feel like, and how it'll affect us and what we can do as we're going through it. So they gave us really detailed descriptions of all of that. So if you haven't seen that stuff, I highly recommend it. It's like I said, free on YouTube, or the book is a great resource because it's all collected for you. So check it out because it's exciting. It's really exciting. So, but this pivot point, so we are at a pivot point where we are turning more, like at this point, it's like we're going to now say, now the new has begun, right? That I think is the importance of this opening, that the new officially, we went from it being like talking about it, building, and now boom, it's open. The door is cracked, right? Next paragraph. But as you are in this current moment, upon your shoulders, you wear the weight of what is current, the current experience of the shift. It is the moment between what was and what is. There is a point at which new things are begun. They can no longer be denied. They are in and upon yourselves in a way that is co-creative and that you are a part of. So it's so exciting. But I also like that she acknowledges it's a weight upon our shoulders. Like it's not easy to navigate this process because there's no rule book and there's no, there's no recipe, that we just have to kind of figure it out. And so it is a weight. It's an exciting thing, but it's also a weight to be going first. So I'm always grateful that they recognize the experience of being human is not always easy. And I also like that there's a reference to, like, yeah, it's been a building, it's been in installments. It's like all our work up until now and the work of our ancestors and this gradual building of learning about ourselves and humanity learning about itself. But we get to be here for the moment of, it's like being in a relay and being the one that gets to, to get to the finish line with the torch. So yeah, pretty exciting. All right. So next paragraph, that which was will endure. It will continue on for some time until all that are a part of it have left the earth. It will endure as it was to some degree, not entirely. It will gradually degrade, becoming less and less like the totality it once assumed. And I think this is interesting information, because I think some people have this idea that the new reality is going to begin. And I know there's this sort of split, like between the new earth and the old earth. And so I think that we may move in our experience into this higher state of frequency, but we will sort of coexist on the earth plane, but it'll be like in different frequencies, kind of like us. And like, if you have heard that there are many other, like, there's the elementals, and there's other beings that are living on the earth with us right now, that are a different state of frequency that we just don't see, that we're not aware of. So I think we will be closer than that. I think we will see and be aware of each other, but I think we will be drawn apart into the being with other people who are resonating in a frequency that we relate to. So I think it'll be more like that, where we are drawn to move, even in some cases, to places where, and they will be drawn to move together as well. That there will be this physical shifting that happens, where those people who feel more in alignment with that state of consciousness will gather, and we will gather over here in our little places. I think that could happen. And I think it'll happen in our lifetime. I don't know how soon. But the one that is the lower frequency, is what she's saying here, is that it's not going to disappear. It'll still exist, but those people will, I know from before, what the angel said is they will not be able to reincarnate on earth in that lower frequency, because the earth herself is shifting to the higher frequency. So they will no longer be in alignment with her and will not be able to reincarnate her if that is their choice. And there's no judgment. This is super important. There is no judgment about souls that are choosing to still stay in the 3D reality, because that is it's a great way to grow as a soul. And they may feel like they have a lot more that they can gain by being in that frequency, and by still going through the karmic experience. So it's just a different pathway. And so if that's their choice, there's no judgment. They're not doing it wrong, right? They feel like this is better for them to grow. And they may still be in the midst of some major karmic cycles, and they may feel like, wow, I really want to finish. So they might go that way. All right. So then, next paragraph, the old reality sticks to itself like glue. It gathers itself to itself, creating densities where there are fewer and fewer densities to be found. It creates like that attracts like. And as the partition between what was and what is becomes more palpable, becomes more observable, and you are moving between these two states of consciousness, you will eventually find you've chosen either one. You will find you have chosen a path, chosen a way of performing a life, a way of living, a new way of instigating your light onto this plane of experiencing. So, and this is, I think, like the ultimate expression of this is this concept of people actually literally moving across where, moving to new places to be with others who are vibrating in the same frequency. But in the short term, I think it would be even just certain friendships or relationships falling away, and then certain ones becoming more persistent or coming into your life. Just finding that your experience of life will begin to shift. And that I welcome, because as we move into the higher state of consciousness, we will release our karma. So we will starting to put that down, and we'll start to, like, if you have relationships I love seeing this when this happens in soul convergence, where people who are in a difficult relationship, people who are maybe estranged, and this happens. I mean, I cannot tell you how many times this has happened in soul convergence, which is, those of you who are not familiar, it's our deepest healing program. Which will start again in February, if you were wondering. That if they are in, like, people who are estranged from a relationship, they will heal their end of that equation, release that karma, and then all of a sudden that person will end up calling or knocking on the door and showing up again, and the relationship is resumed because it's on new footing, which is amazing. So you heal your end of it, and it's like a tug of war. You drop your end of the rope, and all of a sudden everything changes. Yeah. So as we are shifting, and as we release our end of whatever ropes we are holding on to, our experience of life, one bucket at the end after the next, like, we'll start to heal in specific areas. Our lives will become easier and easier as we do this one little bit at a time. But in the meantime, the old reality is going to have to, it's almost like, in order to create a reality, they have to kind of gather and find each other and try to create communities, whether they be thought form communities, online communities, gathering around certain sources of information or certain sources of, whatever it is, and they stitching together a shared experience that vibrates in alignment with what they want to experience, with that more karmic density. So, and interesting in here, she says, you will eventually find you've chosen either one. And this relates to everybody, that as we're kind of going between these two densities, whether it be the new one or the old one, that she's expressing here that it's an unconscious choosing, that everybody is choosing. Every single soul is choosing. We choose at the higher self level which way we're going to go. But then in terms of our earth experience, it just happens, right? We choose by doing, by being. How are we being in the world? And that is our choosing. Which way are we going? Yeah. And you guys obviously are all choosing to go because you're here. Pretty clear. You're like, yeah, I'm in. What do I have to do? I'm in. Yeah. So next paragraph. In the same way that the old way sticks to itself, the new way attracts like as well. It shall find the shelters that new beginnings are in want of. It shall find new ways of gathering itself to itself, new ways of finding where you might align, not in a hierarchical sense, but in a state of equality with all else that exists on the same plane of experiencing. And I love that little tidbit she puts in there. No hierarchy. Think about that in the new reality, that hierarchy doesn't make sense, in a reality where we have telepathy, where we have this deep experiencing of people. Certainly there may be circumstances where there's someone whose job it is to organize and someone else's job who it is to implement. But that doesn't necessarily mean hierarchy, does it? It means a sharing of workload. So yeah, very, very cool. Next paragraph. It shall be as if you are finding an opportunity to gather yourself together in larger and larger densities, as if you might begin to feel yourselves more alive in a new state of consciousness. It will not happen immediately or all at once. It must be gathered. It must be taken together piece by piece, part by part, as each new one upon the horizon, each new form of belonging has been instigated. And I like that idea that it's almost like we have to find a match, and then that match couples, and then something else can stick to it, and something else can stick to it, and then pretty soon you've got a cluster. And you can think of it like a model for this. Just think about how communities are born. It starts with the person. I love the video of the guy who's the lone crazy person dancing, and then finally the first follower stands up and joins him. And now you've got two, and he's no longer the lone crazy person. He's got, the first follower, and the first follower makes it safe for the third guy and the fourth person and the fifth person to join in. And pretty soon everybody's dancing. But that's how it starts, right? It starts with one and then slowly gathers and becomes a cluster. And it will be like this as we are forming truths that we then settle on. I was once shown a visual of what a reality looks like. And it was like a crazy ball. And it was just a representation to help me understand it, that it was like a ball that was in constant motion. Like the inside of it was like crazy chaos where it was constantly swirling. And if you looked at it from a distance, you would think it was a solid ball. You would be like, oh, that, like Earth, that's a reality. It's like a solid ball. But as you got close to it, you realized that it was actually a chaotic movement that was constantly redefining itself. Like every single minute was redefining itself. And around the edges, the things that slowly fell away, right? Like typewriters, there they go. Answering machines, there they go. And they just fell away, right? And then in comes the new thing, and it's like this constant redefining of what the reality will be. And so it's interesting to think about that if it's really sort of a cohesion of all of our attention. And so to create the new one, we have to start putting in our attention and our ideas and our thoughts and all this kind of stuff to sort of gather and create that rolling ball of a new reality. So, what are you gathering, you wonder? She says. What is it that comes alive between you? It is, and this is interesting, it is the resignation of two things that resonate together. It is the alignment of two thought forms that find in each other something familiar. So, it's two things she's identifying here. Number one, the resignation of two things. So a resignation is the retiring or giving up. It is letting go. It is a thing that they have been like hitting us over the head with for years now. The concept of letting go. So in other words, how do we create it? We have to first let go of what is. So the process of instigating something to be the bridge, to go into the new reality, we first have to let go of what was. And that could be in any area of your life, to release it, to say, okay, I no longer need that, whether it be an idea, a thought about yourself, a thought about reality, even physical things, letting go. Then and it's you and someone else also, like the same concept, two people letting go of the same at the same time, right? Or in the same idea, not necessarily at the same time, but two things that resonate together. Two people saying, I'm letting go of this, and this, I'm letting go of that. Oh, okay, here we are. Now we are in the void together. So in the void is a space where we have infinite potential to create new things. So from this space, it is the alignment of two thought forms, right, that find in each other something familiar. So we let go of something, which kind of puts us in the void space together. And then from inside that void space, we have concepts or thought forms that are born out of that infinite potential but it has to be in the new, and this is what she says next, it has to be in the new frequency of what the earth is becoming. So interesting that it's a two, and I think that's why it's a bridge, because we have one foot attached to the old, which is where the letting go is happening, and we have one foot attached to the new, which is where we are able to hold. So we have to be, we is this state of being, of human, that we have to be right now. We have to be capable of being in both. So it's a really unique time of human evolution where we have to embody two states of consciousness at the same time. Very funky if you think about it, you know? Okay. Then she says, however, these thought forms come from within a new patterning. So they'll have to be in alignment with the new state of consciousness, the things that come out of the void. And she says, as if you are cooking in a new way and must find the correct pots and pans, must find the correct recipes that will fit in alignment with this new form of creating, which I believe is feminine energy, learning to create in a balanced way with both masculine and feminine energy. So that's the new template. Next paragraph. Once two thought forms from two sources find each other, they become glue, right? Attaching to one another and begin to instigate a circuitous round of perception where one perceives the next. And this forms a well like gravity into which others can align themselves. And in this way, the new beginnings begin to take shape and take form. It is the arriving from and through you, through what you create together, through what your aspirations will become. So I think about this like the example. So we know, okay, here we are, we've let go of something, it puts us in the void, we're in the void of infinite potential, and then ideas or possibilities begin to bubble up, and I've got one bubbling up over here, and you have the same one bubbling up over here, and then all of a sudden we're like, hey, okay, I observe yours, you observe mine, and we begin to observe each other, and it creates this circle of feedback of like, hey, we've got the same. So that becomes like a well, almost like gravity, and then that starts to attract other people's perceptions, and they can say, does that fit for me or not? And maybe it does, right? It's sort of like it takes two to tango. And then other people can watch the dance and say, do I like that dance or not like that dance? And if they like that dance, they join in and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, right? So that's kind of, and it's just occurring to me that of course it would take two, right? Because that is how creation happens. It takes two. It has to have polarity. I just thought of that. Makes perfect sense, right? That like just like we have you have to have two humans to make a baby. The mother of creation is balanced by the grand central sun. All creation happens with this polarity. So yeah, it makes sense that as we're creating a new reality, it would come out of infinite potential, two beings, and I don't think it has to be, gender doesn't matter. I think it's just two beings, but you each hold, observe, and the energy flows, becomes like the toroid field, right? It starts to circulate, and then others join in, and it becomes a new baby, a baby reality. Yeah, crazy, right? Isn't that cool? So one way to think about this, another way to think about how humanity works and how our consciousness works is think about when you're in a big, like a stadium and people are clapping and everybody's clapping differently. And then slowly everybody begins, and somehow it could be, it doesn't matter how many people are in the stadium. You could have 60,000 people in a stadium, and then they all manage to start clapping at the same time, right? Somehow we all are able to attune to one another and begin, and that's sort of the way the reality forms. You have in the beginning, you have this thunderous like crazy, and then slowly everybody kind of conforms and figures out, this rhythm is what our reality is going to be. Yeah. So, next paragraph. Not all thought form can come alive within the new reality. Not all ways of beingness will be in alignment with this higher state of consciousness, but those that are will quickly find themselves illuminated. Thus, you, as a participant in this great shift, in this stirring of what is becoming, may participate in some ways and participate not in others for a time period as you bridge across the two states of being. So here she's really making it clear that we're going to be embodying both for a little while. We may still be creating in the old world and creating in the new world at the very same time, which is kind of a mind warp. Next paragraph. You may find that in some ways you are participating in grand states of awareness of one another and of things, of states of awareness. She says you may become conscious of the new reality in methods of perception. So this is one of the things that we may, I think she's bringing this up because it may be some of the first ways that we start to experience it is feeling this sense of connectedness. It's like I've told you guys, I've started to have these crazy experiences only a few times. I've had it like 4 times of really super clear telepathy where I heard people's thoughts so loud that it was louder than their spoken voices. And blew my mind. And I haven't been able to recreate it, but other things too, like that one time I heard the plants singing. And same thing, couldn't recreate it, but it's like these moments, grand states of awareness of other people. So I think these are these moments where we're stepping into it, right? We're gonna be going this back and forth. And it came through recently. I think it was in our 40-day blessings. I think it was the one yesterday where Mother of Creation said that it was because we are stretching. That so for me, why was it I was able to be telepathic one day and then or in that time it was like a period, this was happening like over the course of a week, and then not since then. And so why? And she says, well, it's you're stretching into it, right? You're stretching into this higher state, and then you have to kind of regroup, and then so I'm assuming hopefully it'll come back again, but you'll experience grand states of awareness, conscious of the new reality and methods of perception. Next paragraph. At the same time, you may find yourself walking through the dredges of things you do not like or do not care for, that do not belong in the higher state of frequency. You may find that you are trapped in the density of difficult friendships or relationships, or walking through parts of the country that do not feel in alignment with how you feel internally. So I think she's saying here that we're going to be feeling, and in the next paragraph that she talks about this more, that we are going to be as we start to tune into or attune to the higher state. I think we will become increasingly out of tune with the lower state, right? But it's almost like a percentage. You know what I mean? Like how much of us is over here versus over here. And the more of us that gets over here, the more that being over here becomes hard to tolerate. And so she says, these experiences are part of becoming in 2 places at once, part of leaving and part of arriving. You are the bridge. And in the process, you are parsing out these interior dimensions of yourself, or as you are parsing out these interior dimensions of yourself, you will leave behind, slowly but surely, those parts that feel no longer in alignment with your chosen truth. Bit by bit, piece by piece, you will find yourself letting loose and letting go of that which does not belong in the higher state or higher frequency. To parse something out it means to analyze it, analyze into its parts, or to examine. So I think it's going to be a thing like it's, how the world has become so much more polarized. That is a process of healing. That's the process of us bringing things up to be observed, right? I see that as not as evidence that we're moving farther away. I see that as evidence that we're moving closer to the shift of consciousness, that we become increasingly intolerant of things that are not in alignment, right? And it is bringing things up to the surface to be healed. Um, but at the end, what the healing is not, so say for example, if we're in polarity and we're like, I'm right and they're wrong, this right, what we think is right, is not the pathway through. The pathway through is loving what is. The pathway through is getting to the place where we are no longer in polarity, where we become balanced and we learn to let go. It's like I was talking about holding the end of the rope. If we are in extreme polarity, if we're in extreme resistance, we are holding really hard onto the end of that rope. And if we let go, the whole system could collapse, right? That whole thing that you're fighting about could just dissolve because you are no longer holding the energy. It's only there because we've got people on each end of the rope, but it's got to come up to be seen first. So this is a little bit of what we may be going through, is finding that we are in resistance to things in our reality, using the resistance, like using the trigger to show us the areas of ourself that are not balanced, and then working to heal those, working to release our resistance to move into balance so that we can move more of ourselves into the higher state of consciousness. So then she says, but in these beginning times, there is enough between you all to begin creating, to begin to cook. There is enough of stability and friendship, loving exchange. These palpably felt intermixing shall grow between you. It shall extend and expand the more of you that participate. It is as if you are finding points of alignment through which you may begin to weave a new pattern in a quilt. So this is the paragraph that made me think about today's blessing in our 40-day series on YouTube, that it was there enough stability and friendship, loving exchange. It was that idea of the heart, the giving and the receiving of the love, right? Like it feels like that is really huge in building the new frequency. Yeah, super cool. Super, super cool. Next paragraph. You may find that there are threads that belong here that some may share and others do not. So just to be clear, as I'm saying this, that you may find there are threads that do belong, right, that are supposed to be here, that some people may share and others do not, and that is all right. There may be parts of your own consciousness that find alignment and parts that do not. This does not necessarily mean that they will not belong in the new reality. It merely means that you might be first. So I think this is important to specify that remember, it takes two to tango in the new reality, that two beings have to kind of let go of something, come into the void, and then blurble up is your possibility, and blurble up somebody else has a similar or related, and that you start to form the polarity, right? You start to form the co-creative process, and others join in. But sometimes you will have something blurble up that is excellent and that belongs in the new reality, but nobody else is holding that just yet. So it could be a thing, we'll wait for time to see if it comes into presence, but maybe it won't. Maybe it'll be a thing that is a cool idea but doesn't belong. But here, a super fascinating little tidbit to share is my understanding is that and I think this came from the angels through a channeling a while ago, more than a year ago, I think, where they explained that we are becoming more multidimensional as we go into this new reality, as we go through the shift in consciousness. We are already multidimensional, but we are becoming more so, more aware of it. And that in this new state, that imagine that here's the reality we are all creating and that we're all part of, right? And this is kind of it. And think of it as like, if you know what a Venn diagram is, it's like circles that overlap. You have like three circles, it's like the Venn diagram. So you have this circle and this circle and this circle. And in the middle is the sliver that all three circles overlap. And that would be the new reality, the area where all of us here have something in common. And together we share and create a co-created reality. But there's still other parts of you that are not included in that, right? That you are a multidimensional being, that you have lots of layers of you, that maybe some of those are great, but they don't necessarily fit in the one that everybody shares. And what they showed was that there can be sort of sub-realities, almost like we have sub-communities, that two people may share it, or you may have one that nobody shares, that you're over here and you're in part of some other reality that's totally different, and that will be possible in the new reality. That we can, almost like being on Earth and having this lived experience, but also having enough. Like, imagine if you have really strong ties to some alien race, and maybe you are participating in this reality most of the time, but that you also have a leg in that reality. So interesting. So I don't know. It's just a thought, but that's my understanding of how it could work as we go into the new reality. That we become more fluid in our multidimensionality. So, okay. And here we are. Where was I? You may find these threads. You might be okay. Therefore, as you are guided and guarded in your passageway through this time period of fluctuating between what is new and what is old, take heart. Do not fear as you are moving between things. You are feeling high one moment and low the next. Know this is part of the process of your own processing of what is the transfiguration of your own way of being. And I think this is so reassuring because you know how it is if you have a day and you're just like off and you're grumpy and whatever. I know one of you was mentioning like yesterday with the full moon, you were like a crab, and it's going to happen. We're human, and don't worry that you don't have to be perfect all the time. In other words, that we are meant to be the bridge. We are meant to go through this exploration of ourselves in the process. And that means honoring our truth. If you are having a bad day, it means notice your bad day, be present with your bad day, try to understand your bad day. Don't deny the bad day because you're afraid you're not going to be on the bus. You're allowed to have a bad day, and it's all purposeful. If we assume your bad day is perfect, what then? If it's a perfect thing that you're having this bad day, then use it. Use it to discover what is it underneath it. What are you really feeling? Why? Why is this coming up now? What is it trying to tell you? What is feeling unseen? What is needing to be discovered inside of you? So, all right. And then next paragraph, I keep losing my spot. There it is. Of your own processing of what is the transfiguration of your own way of being. I hope I said that part out loud because I like that part. Next paragraph. Allow yourself to enjoy most those moments consequential where you suddenly become aware of your own potential for giving, where you suddenly become aware of your own potency of expression, where your alignment or attunement to others suddenly becomes enriched with a greater variety or depth of information. Take a moment and celebrate yourself when this occurs. So we really every time we know where we have an awareness like, oh my gosh, I think I'm in that higher state. Notice it, celebrate it, be happy, feel great, right? And it's your potential for giving, the potency of your expression. So how much of your truth are you really being your authentic self in a moment in a way that maybe challenges you, right? That's phenomenal. When you're really the potency of your expression, your truth is coming out in a new way where you feel less fearful about being yourself. And your potential for giving, it's that receptivity, that loving experience we felt in the meditation this morning, right? That is another experience that we could be having. And then also the third one, that enriched perception. So these are all, in this, I'm sure these aren't the only ones, but these are three that she named, things that we might be able to notice as aspects of being. These are things that are available to us now, ways of stepping into that higher state of consciousness. So when it happens, celebrate, do something, really remark it and notice it, feel great and be happy. And what can you do to celebrate and notice those moments? Know that you are bridging in that moment the higher dimension and bringing in parts of yourself, anchoring in those elements into the dialogue which are your very own. And being allowed to participate in this way, piece by piece, moment by moment, you are stitching together the beginnings of a new state of consciousness for humanity. And I just wanted to mention the importance of celebrating. I got that guidance from my guides big time, that I didn't celebrate my wins. And I think we have a lot of wounding around celebrating our wins. And I think particularly stuff like this, where it's experiential, our default will be to be like, oh, maybe did that really happen? Maybe I imagined it. It couldn't be that we have all the worthiness that comes up. That's why they're saying you got to just have faith, trust yourself, and celebrate it, and trust it that it is happening. Trust that it's real. And I think it's not our natural set for most of us to be like, I'm awesome. We don't usually do that. And she's saying, yeah, that's what she wants us. Yeah, she wants you to say you're awesome. Look at that. That is incredible. That's cool. So to be happy. Yeah, be happy about it and to allow yourself to be celebrated. In next paragraph, in what you are leaving, do not fear it. Know that this is a natural processing of moving between one thing and the next, that in the context of a reality where you find yourself increasingly in juxtaposition against what is, where you find yourself increasingly at odds with what you are perceiving, you will slowly come to an awareness of what parts of you are in need of healing, and you may draw those into your perception for acknowledgement and reception. So, and this is what I was saying earlier about how as we are at the bridge, the places where we start to feel out of resonance, that is helping us to heal, to see. The hardest thing, you guys, the further you go on your journey, the harder it becomes to see your wounds, because all the low-hanging fruit is gone. You've already healed all the easy stuff. Now it's the stuff that's hard to find. And it takes sometimes just being given the gift of perceiving what it is that you need to heal, that is huge. Next paragraph. I would advise you in these moments that are coming to find your grounding more readily, to be attuned to the earth and all that she offers, for she is bountiful and she is ready. And she will offer you a safe refuge through this processing that is occurring. Those that are willing, such as yourselves, to be the bridge, to be the beacon, to begin something, to be at the start. She offers you her heat of transmutation. She offers you the readiness of her soul as witness. She may take on what you wish to release and heal you of your burden. So this is a very exciting paragraph. I think this is telling us that we have a lot of potential to heal as we're being this bridge, simply by making sure we. So if you're feeling super triggered, ground and see what happens. Focus on, okay, I recognize that trigger is showing you something about yourself. Try to come into perception or come into presence with whatever it is, whatever the real hurt is. Like, why are you responding so, like if you hear about someone being victimized out in the world and it really affects you and you get angry and you're like, we have to fight this, it's not fair. Okay, so what is it saying? What inside of you resonates? Like, are you afraid it's going to happen to you? Like, do you fear that the world isn't safe for you? Like, what is it it's always personal. It is always, it doesn't matter. Like, yes, of course it's wrong. But why does that one bug you so much? And saving the whales is not currently making you cry. Why? Like, why whales, or why not whales? Why is it those people over there that are making you cry? It's because there's something in that story that resonates with your story. So we need to get away from focusing on the external and look at the internal and say, okay, what is it in me that is resonating? What is my story? Come into presence with it and ground, right? And they're saying the earth will help to transmute the energy, will help to move through the energy that you've got. So it's like, literally, it's like the earth can help us heal more deeply right now, which is just very exciting. Grounding is always a great idea, but yeah, it sounds like right now is a special time. So very, very cool. Okay, thus open yourselves to her and let her participate in what you are moving through, and find in your dialogue between yourselves the increasing enrichment of your relationship to earth, and see her as she will become, as a place more bountiful, more at ease with herself, more joyful, and more open to the blessings of this great opportunity before you. And then she says, I thank you, blessings, and goodbye. So yeah, very, very cool message today. And I love it that she's not afraid to get into the nitty gritty of the details of, like, this is, even though she's describing stuff that's hard for us to comprehend, she's describing energy. How do you describe the void? How do you describe blurps of, what I mean, infinite potential? Like, but she does it. And I'm just, I think it's really cool. I'm really grateful. Phenomenal message today. Thank you so much for the awesome conversation. I appreciate you guys so much for being here. Sending you tons of love. If you want to join us for the Mother of Creation weekend, don't forget it is this weekend, and you can sign up on my website, anntucker.com. Sending tons of love, and I'll see you guys next Friday live. Bye, you guys.